Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you today to our series of SaaS founder interviews. My name is Luke Knight. I'm the co-founder of CompareYourTech.com. And today I'd like to introduce you to Frank Sondors, who is the founder of Salesforge. He's going to tell us today about his solution, a bit about the history, why he started it, what the future holds for them, and he's going to show us a demo as well. So, Frank, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey, yeah, my name is Frank. And thanks, Luke, for the quick intro. So I've been in tech sales for well over a decade, predominantly in sales roles as an IC, so individual contributor, frontline sales, prospecting, then closing as an account exec, then leading a large sales team of 50. And then I decided to not anymore sell software for somebody else, but actually sell my own software. So I created Salesforge. And really, the reason why actually, the other reason why I started the company is because I was always typically in a sales-led company. And the main lever to target attainment was just to hire a lot of reps. And I thought that's broken as a concept. Why would you want to hire all these people and then you have to fire like half of them or something? Why wouldn't you build a software sort of stack or like an ecosystem of software of softwares that allows you to build that pipeline, but with the least headcount possible and doing so with the highest probability? So yeah, I kind of had my own frustration leading a large sales team, and then that's why I kind of ended up starting Salesforge. And I definitely seen in my lifetime a lot of very efficient sort of businesses, predominantly in the world of MarTech. You also look at, simple things like, running ad campaigns in Google Ads, for example, and you can see the different things you can do to improve efficiencies. But when it comes to sales technology and the space itself, it's super, super inefficient versus sort of the MarTech sort of landscape. And I thought there's a lot of things you could kind of shake up. There's also a lot of dinosaur companies in the space that keep on, making millions, hundreds of millions of ARR. And I thought, it's time to put an end to this. So, yeah, as part of the journey, so we've been around so for like what 20 months or something. So still relatively fresh company, but we do have sort of four softwares, four brands. So it's a bit of an ecosystem. We're launching another software in like 2 months or so, providing data for the customers. But really, we the main core software is what's called Salesforge. So within Salesforge, you can execute your campaigns for now via email, but in about a couple months' time, also via LinkedIn. But you can use your current sales team and do that essentially a lot more efficiently. But you also can do it with AI agents in tandem. So it's not either or. I mean, you can do both literally. And for example, in the case of Salesforge, we've got a sales team of 3 people. And then in tandem, I'm also running Agent Frank, which is the name of our own agent, named after me. And there'll be a bunch of other names in the future. But that's an example. So that essentially you're able to maximize the pipeline coverage, so the pipeline that you're building for your business, but also at the same time reduce the average cost that you have to acquire these, let's say, meetings that you're looking to have in the pipeline. So yeah, that's a bit about us. And yeah, it's going well so far. There are thousands of customers, and we most of our customer base is in the US. And that's because folks in the US love our tech a lot more than typically the European counterparts. So yeah.
No, I absolutely love the branding. It looks really good, and how you have those sort of different brands, modules, and they sort of really complement each other through like the journey of doing that outbound sales.
Yeah.
What would be your sort of really target sort of audience, as in the sort of company size, or do you have any sectors that really sort of have jumped on board with that? Have you seen like a trend in that area?
Yeah, I would say these are the typical two types of customers. So one is a typical tech company, VC backed, they need to scale. And a lot of startups these days are smarter than the startups maybe 10 years ago. As in, today the startups are trying to think, how do I scale, but with fewer people essentially. And they're thinking that across the world of marketing and engineering, sales, and in the world of sales, that's where they're looking at us essentially. Um, and they're typically up to sort of 50 employees or so. Like that's the type of companies we're targeting in the US. And then the other type of customer that we are definitely targeting is essentially these are growth agencies, also named called as lead gen agencies and outbound agencies, whatever you know. They have all these sort of different names, but essentially their job is to build pipeline for a bunch of their customers. So they need a software that can be a white label, the software that you have multiple customers in it, right? So et cetera, et cetera. So there's a bunch of features that we also built for agencies to accommodate them as well. And yeah, and yeah, predominantly in US. So we're kind of US heavy business.
Oh, perfect. See, it's great as well because obviously you said your sort of focus, one of the focuses are sort of like startups, VC backed.
Yeah.
growing companies, and there's so much data available out there now. So
Yeah.
I love it how you within your solution you've got like that warm up period, and you help set that up for the actual email campaigns, because I know you can just go on demand and buy as much data as you want and try and email them, and it's going to go into like the spam box and everything like that. So when I had a look for your platform, it looks great. So you're really, going with that journey with them as well to actually get the deliverability, sorry, for the emails in there, and the pricing is, very, very on point with sort of with the growing business as well. And then you can add
Yeah.
all those modules on. So yeah, it looks like you're in a very good space. And I've seen you, yeah, it had massive growth over the short time that you've been around. So, and the brand looks amazing as well. I really like all the logo. So that really sort of resonates with that sort of use base as well. So how did you start going about sort of like building the platform within the team? Did you growing like an internal developers and
Good question. So when I had that frustration, right, and exited my former job as a VP sales, I then, had my mind, um, going around, okay, I should be probably starting my own first company. It's about time because I never, launched a business in the past. So this is the first, I'm a first-time founder together with my two co-founders that I found via YC matchmaking platform. So there's Y Combinator, the number one accelerator in the world, but within the website, there's also a matchmaking session platform, sorry. So you can match up with I believe up to like 15 people on a weekly basis and trying to find your ideal co-founder anywhere in the world. And one of them actually messaged me on the YC matchmaking platform saying, "Hey, your profile looks really great. I would love to grab a coffee." And that's a CTO right now called Daniel Sanchez. So we did grab a coffee. He was super excited about building all of this the same night. And I told him, "Hey, wait a minute. We haven't scoped this out. So let me talk to like a bunch of customers first of all, and then we will scope it out, and then we're gonna build it properly, right?" So. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. So we then, I spoke to like over 40 customers at that point. We got 4 paid pre-orders even before having a single line of code. And then we knew there's something here, right? So we got our sort of validation in the market that, we were up to something. Yes, we also had some other competitors popping up. They're trying to do maybe somewhat similar things, but not really the way that we're looking to address them. Um, and then, so yeah, we shipped an MVP briefly after a couple of months. That looked pretty good. And then we sort of deprecated that MVP. And then, we're properly launching essentially the company and everything sort of, around sort of June time, 2023. And then we started to scale from there on. The first sort of 6 months or so was slower. And then we kind of really kicked gears like when we started to add these multiple essentially products on top of each other. It's called the software compound model, or also called the rippling model. So there's a company in the US called Rippling. Essentially, they build a bunch of different products that they sell in the finance and the HR space. And we're doing something similar. So our goal, again, is to build pipeline, but to build pipeline effectively, you do need multiple, typically softwares or capabilities to solve multiple pain points. And that's exactly what we're doing. So instead of going to a bunch of different point solutions, you'll go to the Forge, and the Forge will essentially look after all your pains, and you'll do that with one single vendor, one single support team, and yeah, we're really sort of solving this sort of conundrum around fragmentation, how fragmented the space is, and yeah, trying to become what we call the number one pipeline generating software ecosystem on the planet.
no, that's a great story, and how far you've come in a short amount of time. It's very inspiring, and I'm sure a lot of people sort of watching as well are going to take that story for when, because obviously, like you say, you're working very senior in sales. You had that idea, you saw that pain point within the market,
Yeah.
you went out there, done it, found a co-founder, because I think that's quite essential as well when you're building something, to have someone to like reflect ideas off, someone who you have different skill sets and everything. So it sounds like you're on a great journey, and then you're building that into someone having one point of contact for all of like their outbound sales needs
Yeah.
and those other bits like the bots and stuff that you've introduced. So no, it sounds great. Cool. So Frank, would you like to show Salesforge, and we can have a quick well, not a quick look through, I always say that, sorry, look through the platform. So I'm quite excited to see it.
Sure, let's go for it. So we're just gonna go through Salesforce. Of course, there's other softwares, so I don't want to show everything. I'll be here for forever. So this is Salesforce. It's just literally, this is my account. It's called Salesforce One, the first ever workspace of Salesforce. And you can have a bunch of different workspaces. So you can create. This is like an agency use case, right? So create a workspace for each one of your customers. Right now, I'm in the Academy section, so you can also get sort of certified, just like HubSpot Academy, right? Go through all the modules, watch those. It takes sort of a couple hours or so, and get a certification, pop that on LinkedIn, and essentially get all the basics right. So email deliverability is like a very, very big topic these days. Like 2, 3 years ago, you could still be sending emails and you wouldn't have any issues whatsoever. But then, due to the latest trends, so essentially there's more and more emails in circulation. There's more and more bad actors in the email ecosystem sending ransomware. Google and Microsoft, they started to do a ton of policing, which essentially has negatively impacted the bad guys, but also the good guys that used to, acquire, new customers through cold email. But it's not working anymore. So you need to build, or you need to have a sort of a different type of software that really solves the durability problem. And if you look at the whole market, essentially a lot of the guys out there, they don't solve durability. They believe durability as a problem lies with the customer. But actually, in our case, our main business, we started with durability as the first problem that we had to solve before we, go into down the AI agent front and stuff like that, right? So, but yeah, the first section that the customer, so when you get your infrastructure in place, it means you do need these additional domains and email accounts in order to solve your durability problems. You can get those through Mailforge.ai, where we're essentially having a shared IP pool concept, so similar to Google and Outlook. So you're also kind of sharing IPs in there. And then we have another one called InfoForge.ai. This is sort of a lot more advanced product. So we have dedicated IPs. There's also API. And we're about to roll out also the ability to white label and resell the product. And yeah, also pre-warm domains and email accounts are also coming. So you don't have to necessarily warm up always. If you're like, in a situation where you're an agency and you have to really launch tomorrow, well, you can get some pre-warm domains and email accounts that are just about to go live. Now, once you got all of that, you then push essentially all your infrastructure, so domains and email accounts that you see into your workspace. So this is literally just one workspace. In that workspace, you have 617 email accounts. And the reason why you need that many is because really each domain can only have about 2 or 3 email accounts today. And the maximum number of cold emails that you can ever send at any given moment is really about 50 cold emails per day. This includes also the follow-up emails, right? So, and you can see here that I created a bunch of different domains. Many of them redirect to our primary business domain, but essentially I'm safeguarding my primary business domain from having any email deliverability problems. And you can have as many as you wish. So the beautiful thing about Salesforge is that it's unlimited number of email accounts that you can connect to help you with your deliverability, and also unlimited email warm-up. So unlike other softwares that will charge you literally for every single email account, so it doesn't scale, cost effectively. So so that's about it really about the mailbox section. Then we do store data within Salesforge. So the typical kind of lightweight CRM concept, right? So we have a lot of information in here. But probably if I just zoom out, apologies, if I just zoom out a bit, probably so the main advantage that we have over a bunch of other companies is that actually each workspace is like an instance of a customer. So you can connect this workspace to a HubSpot instance or a Salesforce instance. That's architecturally something that's very rare to see in the software space, that you can connect literally multiple workspaces to multiple HubSpot instances, etc. So that's something that's really cool, especially for, if you're an agency or something. Um, then we have a section that's only unique to us. We call it the Forge. So within the Forge, essentially, this is all information about your business. So the reason why this is important is because we don't recommend anybody to be sort of blasting templates to their prospects, because that actually ruins your deliverability if you're sending a static piece of message to a lot of your prospects. Instead, you can programmatically compute what we call a unique email in any language at any scale. And the way that we do that, we look at what do you sell as a business. So we call that the seller data. And you can see a lot of different sort of products or value prop essentially that you can build out. And then we match that data set programmatically with a potential buyer data. So what do we know about each and every single recipient based on publicly available information, whether that's their website, whether that's LinkedIn, or a bunch of other kind of sources, right? So um, and so here's an example, right? So if I just click on Salesforge, right? So this is like internal product name. We have the product name, industry, ICP, pain, solution, and what's the cost of an action. And you can do that, as I said, in multiple different languages. So you can, I always say, don't send an email to a Frenchman in English because it will backfire. Definitely send it in French, right? If you're looking to book a bunch of meetings with people in France. And then we have what we call the knowledge section. So this is really what we call the brain of the workspace. This is where you can dump a lot of information about your business, like sales playbook, pricing, FA